So first of all, I'm just going to take you back to Pineapple Express
Okay.
because a lot of the same talent working on that film.
Okay.
Were you sort of taken aback by how successful that film was?
Whenever you're working on a movie, I tend to not even kind of think about what ends up happening with it eventually. You just kind of like, I'm always attracted to movies by like what I want to see, if the people involved with the movie are cool. And that movie felt like everyone involved was super cool. I mean, everyone from Seth to David to Franco, that you could only hope like that audiences would see how cool that is. And but it's always surprising whenever you work on anything, I guess, and it really resonates with audiences. And that movie was such a fun time to work on that you're glad that it resonated that way.
And I understand that actually this film was sort of in the making even before then, because you and David Gordon Green are college pals.
Yeah, yeah. We went to film school together. We've known each other for a long time. And on the set of All the Real Girls, which is David's second film, and it's the first movie I ever acted in, we sort of were playing this game where we'd come up with a title of a movie and then try to figure out what the movie is about. And that's how this movie came up. David pitched the title Your Highness, and then I came up with the idea that it was maybe about a prince who smokes weed and fights dragons, and that just seemed like a silly idea for a movie. But through the years, we kind of kept throwing ideas in the hat about it, and then it turned into a reality. Yeah.
And was James Franco always the first choice? Because the chemistry's got to be right, hasn't it, between you two?
It does. We didn't even know James or even have any idea that we would ever get to meet James Franco at that time. But after we worked on Pineapple Express, and he was such a lovely dude to work with, and he's so funny and kind that once we met him, we were like, this makes sense. Like, this can be the other piece of the puzzle, and root this in a brother's story. And so, but once we kind of met James, that's where the movie started to take on life, where we started to see the other dimensions that could, happen with it.
He's obviously a really intelligent guy who often plays dumb, but I just wonder if he's that much fun off the set, or is he like studiously reading in a corner somewhere?
He is a fun guy, but he does read a lot. I mean, he'll do these crazy sword battles, and then like as soon as they say cut, just goes back to the corner and reads his book. And we were shooting in Belfast, and at the time he was enrolled, I think it was in Columbia in New York. And there was one teacher he had that said that unless you are in the class Tuesday mornings, like you're going to be dropped from the class. So every day when we'd finish shooting Monday night, Franco would literally get on a plane, fly to New York, go to the class, get back on a plane as soon as the class was done, fly back to Belfast, and then go back to work. And he would do that. He did that for like the last month and a half of shooting. So he's a very dedicated student.
There are also some very talented British actors in this film. Was it kind of fun to sort of take them down a notch or two?
To us, it was essential to like pull off the movie, to like populate the movie with like esteemed great actors. I mean, to us, if it was all just only populated with comedians, it would make the movie seem sillier than it needed to be. And for us, like, the comedy came from really casting this film as if it were Lord of the Rings, if it was a proper fantasy movie, and then just cutting it down by the sense that at the end of the day, it's a weird penis joke, the whole movie is. So getting a chance to work with guys like Damian Lewis and Toby Jones and Charles Dance, it just made the whole experience that much more surreal, that we had these great actors working with this just disgusting material.
Yeah, I find the dialogue very interesting because you're sort of marrying an old way of talking with a very new sort of cuss-heavy way of talking.
Yes, very cuss-heavy. And that's something that we always kind of explored in the improv. We improv a lot in the movie, and there would be takes where David would say, this take, nothing modern, no swear words, keep it completely in the period. And then there would be takes where he'd say, I want you guys just to unleash, cuss as much as you can in this. And then in the editing room, you sort of find that balance of what makes sense and what doesn't.
And I understand that it's also sort of supposed to be a kind of an affectionate take on the films that you used to love, like Conan the Barbarian and those kinds of things. And what did you love about those films?
It's funny you ask, because now that you watch those movies, you can't really see what anyone liked about them. They don't hold up great. But when I was a kid, those films, those stories really captured my imagination. And I think that's what any good movie is supposed to do at the end of the day, is kind of transport you somewhere else and kind of let you forget about what's going on in your life and take you somewhere fantastical. And that's what those films did for us, and we love those movies. And so we really wanted to just pay homage to those sort of films, and everything through the approach to the visual effects, to having puppets in the movie, to having a stop motion bird. That we sort of just took all these elements of the genre that we really that had always stuck in our minds as kids, and tried to just piece it together in something that was a nice nod to those films.